The East London derby between West Ham and Chelsea was as entertaining as most London derbies. Let us take a look at what transpires between these two clubs, West Ham being the red, and Chelsea being the blue. West Ham approached the game in a 3-4-1 shape. This is how they looked to tactically play the game. During build-up, we would oftentimes see West Ham build in a back three shape. That would have more often than not a single pivot in James Ward-Prowse, but he would be aided occasionally by a West Ham player who would drop deep, as Chelsea would push players upfield in order to force a turnover. This meant that in order for West Ham to have successful build-up plays, they would need to have numbers at the back, the two wing-backs. When Bissaka and Diouf would overlap constantly in the game, providing the width for West Ham, this would allow highly technical players like Paqueta and Jarde Bowen to focus most of their attacking play centrally. We would see evidence of the providence in this tactical setup through the first goal of the game, as Paqueta was able to find space in the center of Chelsea's defensive shape and he capitalized. As the game progressed, however, West Ham would find it increasingly more difficult to penetrate Chelsea's defensive shape, especially through the center of the pitch, because Chelsea began to compact their defensive shape even more, resulting in less and less space for the technical players of West Ham to exploit. Jarde Bowen is a very good example of this, as during the first half he would be seen playing centrally and finding little to no success when it came to attacking Chelsea's 18-yard box. However, sometime in the second half, when he began to move out wide, he would see more successful spells of the ball out wide, where the wing-backs occupied would look promising for West Ham, as they were able to create really good link-up play and look to play balls in behind the Chelsea defense out wide, which did seem to work at times. However, this did leave them vulnerable defensively. Let us take a look at how that exactly happened. Chelsea approached the game in a 4-3-1 shape, and as mentioned, let us take a look at how the West Ham wingers allowed Chelsea to exploit their tactical weakness. Chelsea built up in a back three to shape that would see Cucurella form part of the back three, allowing Malo Gusto to overlap. Malo Gusto overlapping meant that the wide player in that area of the pitch would be able to invert and attack the half space more often than not. This would be Willian. On the opposite side of the pitch, Neto would look to be direct and take on his opponent in 1v1 situations out wide. West Ham having both wing-backs push upfield meant that there would be space out in the wide areas for Chelsea to attack. This was mainly evident whenever West Ham were faced with a high turnover in possession and failed to recover in time. Even when deep, West Ham's defensive shape did look a bit insecure, mainly when we look at the front lines of press. West Ham out of possession defended in a 5-3-2 shape. The front 3-2 shape was the issue here, as they would struggling to completely cut off central passing lanes. West Ham was heavily outplayed by Chelsea in this game. West Ham would struggle to adapt to Chelsea's attacking and defensive tactics, but what really let West Ham down was their failure to defend set pieces. Most of Chelsea's goals came from set pieces, and Chelsea were able to capitalize quite effectively on them. West Ham, however, early on did seem threatening to Chelsea's defensive shape, as they were able to exploit the central weaknesses Chelsea showed early on. However, Chelsea were able to excellently adapt to this. Unfortunately for West Ham, this completely nullified their attacking threat. Final score: West Ham 1, Chelsea 5.